Is everybody enjoying where you're at tonight? Yeah. Good. Now let's talk about some fun stuff. So this whole construction technology roadshow, the idea, like I was telling you at the beginning, was to bring fun things to talk about on these devices. And I'll give you a little bit of background about what I've been kind of talking about. You guys already know who I am, so let's move past that. So waves of technology. One of the first blog posts that I ever wrote was talking about how in construction, as we all know, it's a little bit slow to change. And when I was at the general contractor, I was getting frustrated because people didn't want to use some of the apps. They didn't want to use these paperweights we called the iPad. And I was getting frustrated, and I talked to the owner of the company who was in his mid-60s at the time. And he was reminding me about these waves of technology. And he was talking about, you know, Rob, you're trying to get guys to use iPads and it's a little bit hard, but it was the same problem when we bought the first laptops. It was the same problem when we bought the first pagers. Data tech, this is how I kind of look at it right now. This is scary. Does anyone here have trades or people you deal with on construction projects that don't have email? How easy is it to communicate with somebody in today's world that doesn't have email? It blows me away. I'm like, you realize there's this awesome thing called the internet, and it's free, and you could even go somewhere and use it for free, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to spend it. So you still have people that don't have email. Talking about apps for construction. They've improved workflows immensely. One of the first things I ever did, the company I was with at the time, I had to beg them, and finally they gave me my first Crackberry. And it was way before any smartphones, but I was working on an Atlanta airport project, and there was a guy top-stepping a ladder. So for those of you non-safety people, it means he was on the top of an 8-foot ladder with both feet up in the ceiling cavity like this, doing whatever. So I come along as a safety guy, hey, you can't do that, you need to get down. It was the typical, well, it's only going to be a minute. No, you got to get down. So he's giving me the back talk. So I just take a picture of his feet and his knees inside the ceiling cavity, and he finally comes down. Well, what are you doing with that? Well, I'm going to email this to your boss, and if your boss says you can keep doing that, I'll leave you alone. Hey, whoa, don't send that picture. So the mobile device back in 2005 changed how I managed safety, because it went from was I right or wrong, because I was a young, stupid safety guy, what did I know about the industry and OSHA, to where, hey, no problem. If your boss says you can keep doing that, we're good. No one's ever let me email the picture to their boss. I guess either I'm right, they're wrong, technology works, but these apps have improved workflows. So safety management changed radically. Working on quality of construction, where it's funny, I would walk into rooms and guys would be doing stuff, and I wasn't exactly sure if it was right or wrong. I'm a safety guy. I would just ask them, hey, is that in the way it's supposed to be? And they would kind of pause and think about it. And I'd take that first picture. It's amazing how you get confessions from pictures. So it's like you're an interrogator. But the power of picture changes things, but you got to be able to share that picture and do things with it. So mobile devices in construction. Tablets are changing everything we do. You have everything in your hand for the first time. You can have real-time communication with your guy in the field, all the trades in the field. You can email things back to the architect team, to the owner. It's a game changer for where we're at and where we're heading. So let's talk about this. Does anybody here do lean construction? That's as lean as you can get for a job site office, I'll guarantee it. We did a little $6 million stick-built project in downtown Atlanta, and it was so tight, we had 1-foot boundaries for our perimeter, which was a whole other story when I got on site and started asking about easement agreements, and nobody wanted to talk about it. But the superintendent built the project in a 10 by 20 Connex box through one summer and one winter. Not a happy camper. Don't ask about the little gas thing. I basically told him, look, if both doors are open, you're ventilated, I guess I got to let it go, but it's 20 degrees and he's in a Connex box trying to do his job. But everything he has here, plans, MSDS sheets, spec books, another set of plans. Now, through the magic of all the apps, the platforms we've been looking at, talking about tonight, and these incredible devices, all of the stuff over here, the paper, is in his hands. So now he was able to go out on site and stand and look at details, look at the plans in real time. He could send an RFI in real time. He could take a picture. He could take things and send them to me for safety, fill in the blank, whatever he needed to do, that device lets him do it. The smartphone would do it too, but big fingers, calluses, it's a little easier on a big tablet to make a lot of magical things happen. So the app approach, in case anyone doesn't really quite get it yet, what I'm talking about, The old workflows, if they weren't paper-based, they had gone digital. But in a digital sense, it was a laptop, desktop experience. You're at a terminal station. And a lot of things, you still have to do that. Doing schedules, budgets. There's certain things that the office project management has to do to make the project work, and I get that. Those things we're probably not going to replace and move on. But now apps help the field. It's the superintendents. Do you want them sitting in a Connex box? Do you want them sitting in an office, sitting in a truck, trying to find all of this stuff? Or do you want them actually out on the project managing, doing what you want them to do? Watch work go in place. Make sure nobody's getting killed. Make sure bad things aren't happening. And if things do happen, they can respond in real time with these apps. One of the funnest things I ever did when we started deploying our iPhones, I had a project that was 4 hours away from our corporate office. So 4 hours there, 4 hours back. That's an 8-hour drive for Rob. I don't like 8 hours in the car. I would call the superintendent on FaceTime and say, what are you doing? And of course, first thing I had to do is tell him to take it out of his ear, because answering a FaceTime call is different than a phone call, and it takes a lot to explain that, even to my father to today. But I would tell him, hey, where are you? Oh, I'm on the project, 3rd floor. Great, turn the phone around. And I could hear this awkward pause where he didn't want to do it. Like, turn the phone around. I want to see the hall walk. And so he would go, and I would do a safety audit from Atlanta, Georgia to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Say, hey, guys, not wearing safety glasses. Go ahead and you can take care of that. Oh, there's a guy around the corner, no face shield. It changed a lot. So then I started calling him, hey, didn't y'all start putting brick on the building last week? Well, yeah. Good. Go out of the trailer. Oh, really? Yeah, really, Ricky. Go outside. I want to see it. Why should I have to drive 8 hours? So technology really changed a lot with the workflows and how we can manage things. So types of apps, just to break this down. When I'm talking and when I write on my blog site, what I'm really looking at, you have either point solutions, and we've seen a lot of cool point solutions tonight. What I define as a point solution, it's an app that generally does one thing. It does it really well. It does it awesome, and it makes your life so much easier in that workflow transition. But one of the problems you'll see, and that's where my app alchemy experiments came from, is it does one thing really good, but it doesn't talk to anybody. So my guys were getting really frustrated. We were using one app to take all of our photos, and it did it great. It's called Photo in Mobile. It totally changed how we did things. But they couldn't use the photos in there over in iAuditor for safety, and they couldn't stick those over in PlanGrid for plans. And all these things were in different silos, and they didn't talk. But they did what they did really good, and it changed our business. It made them more productive. I could find things. It was going great. Or you've got to look at an integrated solution. So you go off the bat, you find a platform that does everything in one silo. It'll take photos, it'll do daily reports, it'll host plans, it'll send emails, it'll do RFIs. Everything in one house. It makes it a lot easier in some ways. You give up some of the really cool features in the point solutions, but it's a balancing act. You're still trying to get away from paper, you're trying to move into digital. You have to have your growing pains. So some companies can start off with point solution and be happy. Some go and grow into integrated solutions. Some go straight into integrated. Either way, you're moving away from paper. You're getting data collected. You can manage it. You can share it. You can do so many amazing fun things with it. You just kind of got to understand the lay of the land with how the apps really work. So 5 workflows. These are the 5 main things I'm always talking about. I've got 10 that are kind of in the whole realm, but these are the main things you can improve businesses on right now. Safety, photos, plans, your daily reports, and punch list. These are tasks that have to happen. These are tasks that need to be managed. You know, I can tell you horror stories about doing punch lists. When I first started, 2001, I remember walking down condo hallways and there were handwritten punch lists on doors. You know how long those punch lists stayed on the door? How many people would go by there with a pen and say, oh, that's black ink. All right, get rid of that. You can't manage written things. Or the whole thing with safety, you know, being able to take photos and email them to companies and say, hey, is this okay? Are you fine with him doing this? Totally changes things. So these are the 5 things to kind of focus on. You can find many apps to help you out, and you just want to move forward. So this is one of my favorite pictures to show. This was a superintendent that had an iPad, by the way, but this was how he was ingrained for years. It has to be on paper. Didn't document it, didn't do it. It's always a safety mantra. And he would still put stuff on paper. Well, at least I can now do workarounds to say, fine, use the paper. At least take a picture and email it to me. Use your scanner, send me a PDF. At least I need digital stuff that I can play with. But these questions are things to go back and think about in your company. How are you documenting your safety meetings now? Hopefully you are all having safety meetings. I forgot to ask, is anybody here from OSHA? All right, good. We're in the circle of trust, so y'all can tell me things. It's all right. Don't be bashful. So how do you document the inspections? Is it paper? Is it triplicate forms? Have you moved into digital using Excel? Are you doing anything to make it better, or are you using a real-time app? And then how do you deliver training? One of the other cool things I figured out with these tablets is you could show PowerPoints. So when you find somebody doing something inappropriate that's not safe, you could stop, have a little mini meeting, go, come here, let me show you some pictures of why you shouldn't be doing that. Let me show you a quick training video. You can do on-demand training in your hand. For safety professionals, that goes a long way. So the next one, photos. Anybody here pour concrete? Anybody do post-tension concrete? You ever have them pop on you after the slab's cured out? That's a great feeling, isn't it? So this is one of our slabs, that little $6 million job I told you about. So we had poured out the slab and we had an interesting scenario. The manufacturer of the PT cables never told us they changed the PT stressing process on our job for the first time to test it out. It didn't tell us. Did I stress that enough? Didn't tell us. So about a week after the slab's done, PT ends are popping off, the slab's cracking left and right, the architect's about to lose his mind, the owner's about to lose his mind. What are we going to do about it? So we had used the solution on site. It was called Photo and Mobile, and we took pictures of the slab. But you're saying, well, Rob, that's the finished slab. What are you going to do with that? Seriously? We had gone back before every pour. We made a grid of the slab, and we started at the northwest corner, and I had the superintendent take pictures about every 20 feet, and then he went in with the solution and was writing down column line H to column line N, north, south. He had detailed notes built into that app. So when this happened, and we would see little cracks on the slab, he was able to find his pictures, go back, coordinate them with the drawing. We were doing 6-inch little cores, going right down, finding the broken tendon, fixing it the way the engineer prescribed, small patch, and going back. Within a few hours, we fixed the slab because we knew how to find everything perfectly. But we had apps, we're using technology to help us do that. So who would love to have this kind of x-ray vision? I mean, the BIM model is awesome, trust me, because we had one of those, but you're going to stand on top with the BIM model in the bright sunlight trying to figure out exactly where that PT crossed the rebar in relationship to the downpipe. That's really hard to pull off, but a solution like this, that's what lets you do that. That's what lets you find things. All that metadata on the left side of the screenshot is keyword searchable, so these photos would go from our device to a cloud to the server. That's how we were able to find things in hours. Now, is there any architects in the room? Okay, so I'm talking about architects. You want to have fun with an architect, get really good pictures like this to save their bacon, but don't really tell them, let them stress it out until you save them. Field day with, well, how did you know exactly where it was? I took pictures and we measured. The ones the superintendent had literally between the tendons, he wrote out how many inches and columns, and he got crazy with the detail. That's how we went and found it in that short a time to fix things and make this go away. So right now, how are you taking photos? Are you still using digital cameras? I still see people every now and then with the throwaways. They're crank, crank, snap, crank, crank, snap. Like, they're taking a picture at least. Or is it on a digital is it a smartphone? Is it on a PDA? What are you doing with them? Now here's the fun question. Once you get them back to the server, how do you find them? How long does it take you to find a picture of a given project? I used to spend hours. Now the other question is, any lawyers in the room? Okay, no. So who here has been in litigation? Who's ever stood in the room with those mad homeowners and the litigators and your insurance guys, and let's say that window over there wasn't flashed properly and it's leaking and they're accusing you of being the worst builder on the planet. Anybody been there? Am I being too honest? That's why I found a solution like this. I was there with the keyhole saw saying, all right, let's cut open and look at it. My insurance guy's like, Rob, don't cut the wall. You don't want to do that. What if there's something worse in there? Like, well, obviously already leaks. What worse could be in there? Al Capone? I mean, come on. But we didn't have a way to prove anything. I would go back through the old archives of 2005 and I would find the project, and it's the superintendent taking a picture across the street, his foot, the sky, other things I shouldn't even tell you about. Not really helping me. And so once you find, how are you going to find them? How are you going to transfer them? That's the whole thing about digital and cloud, about able to take things, capture them in the field, share them back with your office. You may never need them again. But when that lawsuit comes in, you're going to be looking. When the accident comes in saying you didn't have safety in place and you can't find it, you're going to be looking. I've had a lot of debates with OSHA about who took what photo, what do we have. It's an amazing thing you kind of got to figure out. So viewing the plans, we've talked about a lot of solutions. Paper-based is still, for a long time, going to still be there to some degree. The municipalities want you to have the control set on site that's stamped. But having large racks and things rolled up and all over the place, from a document control standpoint for your quality program, if nothing else, going to digital should improve your program radically. When everyone on the program on your project is locked in, you can pretty much guarantee that they all had the right set of drawings. There's no more, I could not get on your FTP site, my email is down, the file's too big. Any other good ones I'm missing? It's crazy about trying to prove you sent the right drawings out in that chain. But when you're using an online platform, then you can start saying, well, we sent them out and it says you have them and it says you opened them, so how did you not know about the change? So how do you document now? How are you distributing those plans? Are they still paper-based? Is it still web-based? Can they get onto the tablet? And then a really interesting one, the red lines. Things change. Things are always going to evolve on a job site. How do you document those changes in real time? Because depending on what side of the fence you're on, if you're the GC, the trade, if there's a bust, there's a bust, someone's got to get paid to do it. But when you go back to the owner and the design team and say, hey, this is wrong, we need more money, what do they always do? The two worst words in the construction language come out, value engineering. Does anybody here suffer from value engineering? I could tell you stories all day long. Pools that they took waterproofing out, then they leak, and they look at us and say, you built a bad pool. I'm like, well, you took waterproofing out. Well, we couldn't prove it. Not an easy chain. So marking them up, how do you share those? How do you put them back? And then the storage. So I already asked, none of y'all really want to admit about the litigation issue, but I've had to go through at the company I worked for, we had this Connex box at the yard. And it was a 60-footer, and we had 7 different dehumidifiers in it. So there was shelves full of hefty bags with plans in it from the last 10 years. You know how fun it is to go look for a job from 2001 in that little fun fest? Because we didn't have them digital. It's 2001. How are you going to store things going forward when you need them, when you find them? How are you turning them over to the owner? Things you kind of want to think about and talk about. Come on. James, I think I broke it again. One more time, come on. Seriously? I think I broke it. There we go. Daily reports. We've talked about these a lot. We have the green book, we've got paper. Guys just fill them out, pencil whip them. And what happens with them from the job site? Does anybody send them back to the office? Is anybody looking at them? Let's think about things you need to document. Come on. Must be a magic touch to make this thing work all the time.
Swipe on the page.
On that page? Nope. There we go. These are the big things I'm always talking about. Weather. Down south we have crazy weather, rain delays, we've gone through droughts, different things. If you don't have good proof to go back to the owner that you need more days, they're going to tell you no. Delivery conditions, were things delivered in the rain, were things broken? How do you prove all this? If you don't have it written well and it's not shared to your office, things get really ugly very fast about trying to prove you did it. Come here. Next one, talking about punch list. Blue tape, you got to love it, right? How many times you walk in a room and there's 75 blue dots just in the doorway? You get in the kitchen and you can't even see. But how do you document that and share that with project team members? How do you document that and share that with the owner, with the architect? How do you get everybody on the same page with paper? Even Excel, how lazy human beings can get where they can't push 2 buttons to go from an app to an app. But it is what it is. It's segregated silos of workflows. So then you look in and you talk about it all in one. So same thing, you're viewing the drawings, documenting changes, how are you annotating, how are you storing. If you look at a more comprehensive solution, it'll do it all at once. But it's a cost wager. You got to figure out, you pay for a few apps that do one thing, many things, you get one that does it all. You just got to figure out how much you want to pay for it. So last couple things to leave with you. The big purple elephant in the room. How many people have a mobile device program in your company right now? A defined written program? 2. So, a lot of fun things to go back and talk about, because before you start buying lots of these devices, whatever they are, you need to kind of have things figured out. The big one I'm always honing in on is reduction in labor cost. Your direct labor you're doing right now, the time it takes to do photos, to do reports, to share this data, you have that direct cost from your employees. Then there's all the benefits we'll talk about. So right now, the first one, less printing. If you go to a cloud-based plan solution, you stop printing paper. There's documents where companies have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in paper cost, tens of thousands. If you stop printing paper, you're not paying for paper. The other thing that people don't think about in printing plans is if you print plans, someone has to drive the plans around. So there's the labor of the guy in the car or the truck and all the gas and the waste of time of him going round and round and round. The last project the company started before I left had 11 revisions of drawings before the job started. So it was negotiated, 11 rounds of drawings. The set was up to about 1,000 when I left. After contract, in the first 3 months, we had 7 revisions to contract. Everybody do the short math in your head. 18 sets of drawings. Who wants to print that out and try and keep up with that on the job? It's crazy. Less time transferring photos. One of the first use cases I did with photo and mobile is I went and I walked the project. It had 16 units on the floor, so I took 6 progress photos in every unit. It was a sink rough in, toilet rough in, shower rough in. I took pictures with a digital camera, drove back to the office, downloaded them on a computer, moved them to the server, put them in folders, and I renamed them. That took me 94 minutes, one floor. Went back the next day with my iPad and photo in. I did it in 54 minutes. So 40-minute reduction. Now this was a 9-story project. See where I'm already heading on labor savings alone to document the job for that week. Then they're on the server. I can always find them. I can tag them. I can code them. And God forbid there's a problem, we can find them. Less time writing your reports because guys are doing it digital. The way I set up all of our safety forms, our daily report, even our photo, I built everything on the web and then deployed it to the field where they literally just had to tap buttons. I did drop-down menus where I was trying to eliminate them having to use their thumbs, type, write. Very little data entry besides them tapping buttons because I pre-programmed everything. Talked about saving that fuel. Now here's one nobody in the room I guarantee is going to talk about. Does anyone here know your company's rework costs for last year? I knew ours. It was ugly. I could buy a lot of iPads. They hated it when I brought that up, but I was like, seriously, if we're not going to get better, what are we going to do? You got to be able to share data. So go back and ask right now, what did you spend on rework last year? And when they're saying why, say, well, if we buy iPads or tablets, Samsung, I don't care. Buy mobile devices and start using these apps. You're going to build a better product. If you build a better product, you're not going to tear stuff out. You're not going to do rework. You're not going to have that big litigation that I talked about. Searching for your old photos, you can spend hours. Searching for documentation to prove to OSHA you did something right. You could cough up a lot of money in fines. I've been there, I know. So, appreciate y'all's time. Appreciate you watching, talking, engaging. If you ever want to learn more about the workflows I write about, the apps that I'm always testing, this is my website. It's conappguru.com. Please feel free to watch it. You go on there. I do a post on Monday about a new app or a workflow. I do a repost sometimes on Wednesdays, on Fridays, different things I like to put through there. Always have new stuff to talk about. Anybody here on social media? The Facebook? It's amazing. We drove by their office yesterday. They have to be killing it. That was a campus. I can't believe how big the place was. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Google+. If you want, please follow me there. Everything I put through the blog site goes through social media. And if anybody has a question, here's my cell phone number. It does come right to me. Social media, email. If you have a question, if I can help, please let me know. But the idea is just trying to spread information, try and make people understand these mobile devices will change your business. They will do a lot to improve what you can do. You just have to be brave enough to check them out and try some things. And again, thanks again to ARC for having us here today for a great program. Hopefully everybody's going to learn a little bit, take something back home to your office, and improve your workflow. So.